All right, sweet. We're rolling. Wow. Welcome to session number 2. Welcome back. Your host, Dylan.
Mo.
Yeah, welcome. This is second episode. I just want to say thank you for the response from the first episode. I was surprised by the numbers we did. Yes, they're small compared to other people, but I wasn't expecting this amount of love and support from you guys. So
Appreciate it.
Dude, it's freaking, it just motivates us more to do better things, bring on amazing guests, which, talking about guests, it's our first episode, first session with...
First guest with Anthony Lucido, wonderfully talented filmmaker.
Dude, he's amazing. This guy right here. If you don't know him, you got to look at his movies. Obviously, he'll be in the description below. But, dude, welcome to the first... you're our first guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
dude,
man.
It's freaking awesome. Well, it's the first time we met.
We've come across each other a couple times.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So how you came about on this episode or on this podcast is our lovely PA Milad. They've been friends and known each other for a minute. So, of course, he recommended you, and he showed us your movies. Dude, you're a brilliant director, filmmaker. You're so talented, bro. You're amazing.
You're too kind.
Dude.
You guys are too nice.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. Well, where'd you,
Let's talk about Rat King for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about Rat King.
Rat King just went to Slam Dance and won the Grand Jury Award.
Yeah, it did. Pretty
Congratulations
amazing.
on that.
Dude,
That's amazing.
I'm still processing that.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That's kind of the biggest that's the biggest acknowledgement of our movies or that they work or that they function and can emotionally reach people that we've gotten so far. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was making Rat King like?
So I was the producer of Rat King,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two producing partners, Brian White and Eric Colonna, and we kind of are like a little filmmaking collective, and we work with the same crew a lot who are also our friends, and this was Eric Colonna's film. And it was a lot of fun. It's about a couple kind of ricocheting in their house with a lot of anxiety and stress and trying to get to the beach desperately. And it's kind of a stoner horror comedy. Maybe
nice
is a way to put it. I think that
genres.
works.
Good genres.
Yeah, that wasn't something that we necessarily called it, but after hearing some people watch it, that's something that we've heard, and I like it. I think it's fun.
Was that like the first, when you guys as your collective, is that the first thing you guys gotta think about is the genre, what you guys want to do? Because we've seen most of your films, and they kind of have that same psychological A24 style, really
we also watched Tender, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah, but they're all so different and abstract. Is that what you guys kind of go into already thinking about the genre, or you guys come up with the story first, or?
I don't know. There's three of us, and Tender's my first film, and that was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rat King is this year, 2022.
Wait, that was your first film? Was Tender?
It wasn't my first film. It was my first film. It was my first film that interacted with the world in a way that wasn't just I uploaded it to the internet. It played at festivals. It had showed in a couple theaters.
So you would say Tender's your first big your big baby
yeah, and you don't I don't think you know that going into it. It's kind of it's a post thing where because I submitted all my other shorts. I was making movies and I was putting them out there, but no one was really grabbing onto them till Tender.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the first time where a couple, a handful of festivals took notice.
Gotcha.
And it felt really good. And then Rat King is kind of the second film. And we also have a third film that has yet to premiere called Flyover. That is the third, Brian White, who's our third collaborator, made. It's kind of our round one of this little collective that we have going.
Do you guys have a name for the collective?
Yeah, but I'll that reveal will come later.
Oh, great! So y'all don't even know yet.
Stay tuned.
Well, right now, kind of a thought is that we have only Tender is publicly available.
Gotcha.
The other two films are still in their festival circuits. So then once those two films are publicly available, then we'll have like a website. We'll have everything up then.
So it's kind of like still in the process of
yeah. We're just getting going with this, and this year we're gonna make 3 more shorts, one of each of us. And then next year, February or March, we should be moving to Missouri to make our first feature.
Damn.
That's amazing.
And you got the scoop here first.
Whoa.
A lot to look forward to.
Yo, you hear it. We bring you the first ever news all the time on this podcast. First ever.
Breaking it here.
Dude, and Tender, you said Tender is kind of your first film as a collective. So I feel like that's like how Tender came out, dude. The sky's the limit for you guys. You guys
thank you.
With Tender, your first thing, like that's, dude, incredible. Yeah. Good shit.
A lot of exciting stuff in the works too. That's a good layout.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you gotta have a plan, and I think that the plan has to not include waiting for something to happen. You know, like
no, definitely.
Like none of the things that we're doing. I think no part of the plan is, and then if it gets into this, or if it blows up here, or if it gets that, it's just, you know, keep working and keep doing your thing, and then, you know, if people see it or it gets in the meantime, then great. But you know,
we've had similar talks about this podcast.
Dude, this is why you're here. We have the brains connect. Like that's literally what we were talking about with this podcast. Is like we don't know where this is gonna take, and our goal isn't about the money or isn't about the fame and followers, but like we just wanted to create a space where it's dope for everyone to come on, and we just had to do it just to do it and see where it comes. Like we see where it goes. So I feel like that's the same mentality you guys have over there in that collective, which is amazing. I feel like that's the mentality everyone should be looking, whatever their craft is kind of go with your gut and just do the damn thing, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is. You said with your style and all that, like where did you find the style? Like how do you, like, do you have a specific point in time in your life or a movie that was like, yo, I like this style. Like, this is how I want to make my movies, or do you have a point in time in that?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that you come across, I think, that just really move you and really compel you. And you know, like my first like vivid memory of film wasn't even necessarily watching a movie. Mm-hmm. It was when I was little. We had, you know, it was the time of VHS, and there were 2 VHS covers that we had that to 2 movies I was not allowed to watch. One of them was Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, me, same. My parents did not let. Yeah, same.
It was just the big lips and him,
you
know, with his legs up and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the sexiest thing. That's the sexiest cover I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
And it was also Pulp Fiction, and it was the cover with Uma Thurman where she's reading the Pulp Fiction magazines on the bed, and there's like a gun and a lit cigarette and like, you know,
all the things that 10-year-olds should not be looking at.
Yeah. And so I think that probably informed a lot. Like, I mean, you know, the movies that I've always been drawn to and interested to, and like you say, like the kind of darker material that we get into or more psychological stuff. I, you know, like filmmaking kind of started as like a naughty thing, you know, like it was like looking at those covers and going like, I'm not supposed to watch this, you know. The Exorcist, I was dying to watch The Exorcist, begged my dad to let me watch it, to the point where he finally just went, you know, fuck it, here you go. And of course, like 20 minutes in, I can't finish it.
But, like everyone else at that age.
But yeah, you want to like, you kind of want to put your hand on the fire. You want to go a little too far. You know, like when you're a kid, you want to push yourself. I mean, at least this is me. I wanted to, you know, watch things I shouldn't be watching.
Totally.
And so it kind of came out of that. So I think that probably has a big influence on the things I make, though it's not really, I don't consciously go into it thinking,
like, let's do something dark.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going, you know, I want to really make this one, you know, sick. And the times that I've caught myself writing where I've been doing that, it's really led me astray. It's really because suddenly what I'm doing is I'm not writing, you know, the place I'm writing to is to like be provocative or be, and it should just be, you know, more characters and emotions that maybe exist in that space. But you're writing for those characters and not just to be wacky and weird in the time. And I definitely have made that mistake, though. Not to say that I don't do that. And then you kind of got to start over and you kind of look at it and you're like, wait a minute, like where's the core, the
What
heart of
happened
it.
here?
Yeah, what happened? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
definitely.
a wacky movie for the, am I trying to make people uncomfortable? Because surprisingly, if you watch my movies, that might be the impression is that we...
Go in trying to make everyone feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the, that's not real. I'll speak for myself. I don't think that's really ever my intention. Like, I want
Yeah,
to
that's
be
not
able...
your goal.
Yeah, I want to be able to show my grandma and my mom
Yeah,
my
yeah, of
movie
course.
and have them be able to really connect, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for
and then
sure.
also to have, I want to reach a wide audience,
Totally.
It's not like I'm necessarily making,
For a certain
popcorn
demographic.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I want, my goal is never to leave anyone out,
Yeah,
I
for
want
sure.
everyone to be able to connect
For
to
sure.
it.
I mean,
awesome.
I can speak for myself. Like, for me, I love movies that like make me uncomfortable and like make me think, like really think about like my morals and like situations and all that. So
Yeah.
like, I get what you're for sure. Like, build the character first and like the relationships and all that. But like, yeah, I mean, for me, I love that type of stuff. So the movies you make are like my top list for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my favorite type
That's
of
great.
stuff.
It makes me very happy to hear that it's working on someone.
No,
Yeah.
hey, it
No,
works on
totally.
me. It works on me. But
Cool.
where did you like go to school? Like, did you go to school for this? Is it kind of like YouTube University where you just like learn shit on YouTube or like just watch
Yeah.
hella movies? Like,
Well, there's kind of two answers. There's the answer of like what happened to me, but I think for me, I can track the start of this thing back like generations. My great grandfather was a fisherman in Monterey,
okay,
and in the kind of 40s, 50s, filmmaking in Monterey was a little more popular than it was now. Great locations, cliff sides, like all that stuff. It was a very romantic location. I mean, it still is to me. And my whole family's from there on both sides. And he was a fisherman. They would have productions come in, and they would sometimes hire the fishermen because they would shoot on the coast and the tides are coming in and stuff. So they would hire fishermen to be like, hey, what are the tides going to do today? Or can you safety, And so there's a movie called, I want to say that it's called Desire Me. And it's a World War II film. And kind of I think a romance, and it starred I'm gonna get the names wrong, but it was basically Greta Garbo. I think it might have been. I might be confusing her with someone else, but there was an actress and an actor up in the tide pools in Monterey, and a wave came up, and my great grandfather was one of the fishermen that was like watching for safety.
Mm-hmm.
And a wave came up and took her out to sea.
Oh, wow.
And he jumped in and saved her. And this is no bullshit. You can
You can do your research and
can
find
do
it.
your
It's
research, you
true.
can find it. And he was a pretty handsome man.
Yeah,
And he went to go. She wanted him to visit in the hospital. And so when my great grandfather came into the hospital room, she invited him to go out to Hollywood to maybe do acting
No
or
shit.
some work. And when he went home, my great grandmother said, "You can go, but I'm going to keep the kids and stay here." So he went, okay, well, that's not going to work. So he didn't end up going.
Yeah.
But he loved movies, and he would go to movies, and they were, at the time, movies were a little too expensive for the whole family to do. So he would go and watch the movie. And then come back, and all the kids would gather around. So this is my grandmother was one of these kids, and he would recite. He would tell the story back.
Yeah.
So they would all like go to the movies essentially, and this planted a seed in my grandmother, where she's an amazing actor up in Monterey. She does local theater up there, and she's done like the Buddy Holly story and all those things.
Shit.
And she's actually in my short. Tender, she is the mother. That's her.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
no
So my movie is my
Okay.
brother plays the Gabriel, the kid in it, and my
No way.
grandmother is the mother. Though it's kind of vague as to what their actual, if it's a grandmother, mother, or whatever it is.
Yeah, relationship. I like how you do that though. Like you don't specifically. It's not like on the nose.
Yeah,
you can't really
yeah.
tell.
It's a little vague,
But that's the stuff I like. But
Yeah.
sorry, that's
Ambiguity
yeah.
is cool.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so there's a whole lineage, and she, he planted a seed in her. She planted a seed in my dad, who also was way into movies. They had a Super 8 camera, and
Sick.
there's hundreds of family, videos, and not just family videos, but like, they were really trying creative stuff, and they were trying to write little stories and, make shorts essentially. And so when I grew up, I always had a camera in the house.
Wow.
My dad was very supportive, really loved making movies with us when we were kids. I learned how to edit kind of in that time and everything, and I would just mess around. And then
At
it was
what
kind
age?
of,
How old are you?
oh man, the first stuff that my dad was like filming of me and my brother, I must have been 4 or 5.
Dude,
Wow.
dude,
Yeah.
when you get big and director, that's a documentary right there. Dude, that's some
It's a really good origin story.
That's an origin story
Yeah.
right there. That's like some Kanye West, like back in the day, like documentary right there.
Well, yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
It's cool. I like it, because it makes it, I don't know, there's just something really romantic and kind of it feeling like it's something bigger than me,
Yeah, sure.
Like rather than just I like movies and all this stuff, to really track the family history. It's
it's like your family was like you were born for it to like make movies.
Yeah,
and
and
that's
that
crazy.
That bug that was originally there, is the same bug in me. So it's kind of like, it's just something moving through all of us. We're all acting something out, and it's bigger than all of us, but it's cool to think that, like I could push it a little bit farther, and that, I'm only where I am because of the passion that they all had and stuff.
Yeah,
and
for
so,
sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So basically that one thing happening of your great grandfather diving off that
Just
boat
sparked
is
the
why you're
whole-
sitting here
yeah.
essentially.
Essentially.
That's how I like to think of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's what, like you said, that's like the romantic side of it. Like I feel like that's
And like, I'm a very romantic person, and
ladies. He's a romantic person. Ladies, are you single?
yeah.
Okay, they're romantic. Okay,
Romantic in that way for sure, but just also like just in love with trying to be in love with life and trying to be in love with experience and being alive and having all these sensations and stuff.
For sure.
It's filmmaking is like, it's the perfect manifestation of that. It's visual, it's audio. You're in a little, dark room and you're looking at the screen, and I can get very romantic and spiritual about filmmaking.
Yeah.
And so of course, when I think about how I got here, I love that. I love that story, and I love how it makes me feel that like I'm not, I'm in a line of something. It's a really cool feeling.
So is your grandmother like your grandmother's still acting like till this day?
Yeah,
Like,
and my stuff. That's
dude, that's
no,
amazing.
she's been in stuff very recently. She's done it all of her life. She's a way larger than life personality.
For sure.
And I think, it's really like I'm constantly reminding myself or constantly discovering how much of an impact she's had on me.
Yeah.
And she's also a writer. I should mention that too.
Sick.
She writes short stories, and she actually helped this great-grandfather who I'm talking about. She helped him write a autobiography about himself when he was on his deathbed.
Wow.
Which I read and learned a lot of these things about him. So we're very much documentarians of our own lives. Like we're always putting ourselves, like even beyond me. And so it really just feels like keeping up with the tradition, like putting her image in my movies and trying to
and keeping that legacy alive.
Yeah, exactly. Like I look at, I'm in a very unique situation. I think I'm probably in the minority here where both of my great grandfathers had autobiographies of themselves.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so being able to read about their lives, these are people I've never met, you know? And you get a whiff of them. You kind of can figure them out.
Get
a little
bit. Sense of it.
Yeah, you get a story version. It's very clear that
yeah.
I don't know all of the details.
All the behind the
I'm
scenes,
sure there's
whatever.
some stuff that would
be like a shush.
Yeah, but I'm lucky that I am able to read that, and so there is kind of a thought that you can't help having, which is, I know time's going to keep moving, and one day I'm going to be the old guy, and I want to kind of catalog it, or document it while I'm here.
Yeah.
Because it would be really cool to hand all these things down. And you know, maybe in a way that's not just an Instagram, not to knock Instagram or anything, but like
No, you can knock Instagram. It's okay. We've done that before.
yeah, well, you know, it's like, you know, Instagram is a version of, you know, someone's life, but it's to me just not a very, you know, it's
not a real place.
An accurate depiction of someone's life.
yeah, and nor do I think that's what anyone thinks it. I don't think
Right.
that, you know, maybe some people believe that, and God help you if you do, but I think most of it treat it, you know, I have one, and I think most of us treat it as a way to, you know, push the things that we're
Promote,
doing,
for
creatively promote ourselves and stuff.
sure.
We're not, you know, that isn't our autobiography.
No.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. And so, you know, having a movie or having a written thing or something that, you know, can dive a little bit deeper, that is really exciting to me. So that's something I try to do because people did it before me.
No, 100%. It seems like with this, like what you talk about with your family, like seems like you're a family. Like I feel like you're a family person. Like you,
Yeah.
in the future, you want to have a family, of course. Like, is your are you pretty close with your? That's far away to think about. You focus on your
none of that now.
none of that right now.
That's for
but
sure.
like, would you like? It sounds like you're pretty close with your family though. Like,
Yeah. I'm very close with my family. I definitely think I'm a family person. I mean, we're
do you still live? How old are you? Do you still live with them?
29.
Okay.
29. So both sides of my family are up in Monterey,
Okay.
and I go up there a lot.
Yeah.
And my family, Monterey, all of that is like just a very important thing to me. And it definitely works its way into all my movies.
For sure.
Tender is shot in Monterey, and the house
Oh.
that we shot in
Uh-huh.
is my grandmother's house.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And
Like
I'm
behind the
I'm
scenes
using
news.
I'm using my grandmother, I'm using my brother, I'm using the house that not only she lives in now, but also my dad and my uncles grew up in that house.
Yeah.
You know, when we're there, we're getting fed by family, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like a family event. It's like,
yeah, you know, it's like you can. I have a hunch that when you go to make a movie, or well, I'll talk about film specifically, but when you go to make a movie, I feel like there's this thing where it's like what you put in front of the camera and then what's going on behind the camera, and that those things can be separated.
Yeah.
That, like, it's like as long as it's working up there, you know, this could be whatever, you know, we don't need to.
Yeah.
But I think that it's all, you know, it's all so wrapped up. The energy of everything, the energy of your crew, who's working on your film, who's feeding you, what you're eating.
Yeah, definitely.
All of that goes into the movie. And so
Yeah.
it's like there's a thing about, you know, there's locations that feel dead and there's locations that feel alive, you know?
Yeah,
and
definitely. You feel the vibe. Like, you just feel a
and you
vibe
try to
it.
look for those things. You try to find those things that just feel like alive. And so if you go into a house that you have a bunch of memories in, you know, it's not necessarily that when you guys watch that movie you feel all of that, but it makes its way in there. You
For
know,
sure,
the
yeah.
house just feels lived in. You know, rather than
It doesn't feel like a set. It doesn't feel
Stage.
like a
Yes.
stage. It
To-
doesn't
completely,
It doesn't,
yeah.
yeah. Totally get wow.
yeah.
Think like now that you say that, like the location and everything, you can totally. If we watch it again, you totally feel the vibe.
It looks like home.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. And I was like, dude, that, yeah, for sure. It just doesn't feel like a set, and like it feels natural. And that's why I think the movie's amazing, dude. So that's
Thank
cool
you.
behind the
Yeah.
scenes knowledge for you right
Yeah,
there.
and racking, which, you know, it's kind of hard to talk about because whoever listens to this, at least in the meantime, won't be able to watch it. But it's a very frenetic movie in LA and very chaotic and very cluttered. And I think I say that in a very good way.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of, like, when you guys saw it, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of cars honking and, you know,
exactly.
lawnmowers, you know.
Yeah. We gotta watch it. Unlike you guys, sorry about
Yeah,
it.
sorry about that. One day, very soon, though.
Do you have a date on that? Like when?
We're going to see, you know, how the festivals go. I think that for sure by next year, I mean, it's going to be up, but it might be sooner, but I don't know exactly. But like those noises, for instance, like we're filming in LA and, you know, there's cars going by and they're driving by. And I think that a lot of filmmakers, you know, from film school or from training have an instinct that like when they hear those noises, that it's like you have to stop, you know, airplane coming, you know, stop everything and let it go by. And there's certainly noises where you have to, right? Like it's gonna screw up.
You got the
whatever. It's
gardeners.
Really
You got the gardeners out there doing all
and
the.
there's a limit, but you know, to let a little bit of that seep in, to not always stop
to keep it a little more realistic.
Yeah, like to be on a street that really has cars going by, and like to not, you hear those cars and you're like, oh, they're gonna be in the audio. Instead of trying to get rid of the cars in the audio, maybe get the cars in the shot. Like invite them into the space.
Yeah.
Like anything that's natural, anything that's authentic that you can incorporate into making the movie. I mean, those are lessons that I've heard from other great filmmakers that like when I've acted them out, it's like, oh wow, like they're not kidding. Like that really does make a huge difference. So we are always inviting like, mistakes into our projects all the time.
Dude, that's
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I can't get over the story about your great grandfather.
Yeah,
he's still over
really,
here.
I'm still on that. Yeah,
he's still over
me
like
too.
thinking.
I haven't been able to get over it too.
Yeah, what a
and
great.
We also are family. Like any good storyteller, we work in hyperbole. We work in exaggeration, and and so when I first heard that, I thought for sure it was bullshit. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And my grandma brings out these article clippings and stuff, and it makes you. I mean, it certainly it re-energized me when I found out. I was like...
It motivated you.
Yeah, it motivates you. It's like, oh, this thing is so much more than just me or like a like or a passion. It's like...
It's more than
you're
just
like the culmination of all these people.
Yeah.
Finally, it's being done through you.
Yeah. It's... I mean, at least for me, it feels better in my life that I feel like a link in a chain than like the thing. You know what I mean? Like rather than just being my life and what am I going to... That I'm just a stepping stone.
Yeah, it's like roots. It's like a tree. Like
exactly. You feel connected to the bigger picture, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit better. And it is a pretty wild story, though.
It is.
I'm still hung up on it.
Every night he's like, God damn, I'm fucking amazing.
Every other night.
We just had Jules fact check the movie.
Yeah,
design.
fact check my story. It was
the
Greer Garson, not Greta Garbo. I was in the 20s or 30s.
Hey, that's all right.
Wrong decade.
I don't think I would remember anything from back that time.
Yeah, a movie called Desire Me. Greer Garson was the actress that got swept away. Dude. And
Dude, that's awesome.
Wow.
So we were talking before a little bit about like the set, like the choices you make with the actors and all. Like, how do you when you direct, or even when you're just on set, you kind of have a role to play, as in
produce, direct,
whatever you have. You still have a role to make the set kind of feel the atmosphere be like welcoming and all. Like, how
is there like a certain set life you try to impose?
Yeah. Do you like have do you have a process of like telling the actors like, hey, this is everyone's welcome, no wrong answers, wrong questions, or?
Completely. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that for sure. I think, a big thing for that we've kind of, so the three of us, we all, first and foremost, it's storytelling and it's trying to make good movies and stuff. But we also, all three of us are very interested in the way a set functions. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely something I think that like is important to be talking about as like a new generation of filmmakers. Cause, we just had, there's been a lot of stories of things going wrong on set. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're all, very aware that we can all do better. And I think that, we're trying to figure out how to do that. And I feel like filmmaking was born, it was definitely a man's game. And it had this militant kind of atmosphere.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Like when, you guys, I'm sure, have been on a lot of sets. And when you're on set, there's this kind of like, you show up, you go, by this time we get the shot. It feels like going to war, A little
bit.
Yeah. And there's excitement in that. And there's fun. It feels dangerous and all those things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I feel like, we definitely are very conscious of trying to create a different atmosphere and one that doesn't feel like that militant, intimidating thing. And the thing is that a lot of that is also born, I think, out of a financial thing, like when you have so little money, it's really hard to know where to spend it. And so a lot of people will feel like, I have no money, and usually they'll rent, a Red or an Alexa because it's like, we gotta have it.
Yeah, we gotta have the top notch everything.
And that's not right. Cameras today are so affordable and so cheap.
Right here.
Your iPhone, yeah.
Right here.
I mean, really, I mean, we joke about that and like, oh, you could shoot it on your iPhone and everything. But you know, seriously, there are, you know, look up the Blackmagic Pocket. I mean, a used one, you know what I mean? Go make a movie with that. I mean, it's really just as good. The image quality is not going to make or break your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, trying to condense everything into like, you know, only 1 or 2 days. Like, you know, we have to do 30 shots in one day because we can't, you know, and so that then creates the pressure and the hostile and you get mad because you're in a pinch and you don't have time to do your job. Tensions get high and it's like, well, you know, no one gave you time to do your job. You know, this feels weird because it is weird. And so trying to change those times, trying to change that environment, kind of bring in, you do the thing where you know, have everyone, you know, can say what they think about what's going on. But I think that the other thing is not assuming that you know how your crew likes to work or what the right thing is. Like, especially like, because I think we're talking to young filmmakers here and we're talking to people that don't have big budgets and stuff. So you're only going to work with a handful of people and, you know.
Friends, family.
Yeah, friends, family. And, you know, if you're between, you know, trying to hire some person that you know or you have a contact with who does great work and big things, or you have a friend who maybe is not as familiar with it, but you know them really well and you have a great relationship, use your friend.
For sure.
Yeah.
Don't try to, you know, you're not going to get there by having a big star in your movie or, I mean, well, look, sometimes you will. I would like that not to be a thing, but sometimes you do. And but you do have a big star and it makes you know, it makes it work. But, I don't know, just work within your means. Know your means, because filmmaking is always like trying to push it, you know? Like, I want to do a little bit too much. And that's fun to do things that are challenging. But you have to remember that when you show up on set, if there's too much going on, if there's too much of a time crunch, I mean, you're just not going to be able to think. You're not going to be able to work. And
which
you
will
wanna
affect
be able
the quality of...
and it affects your actors. It affects every
100%.
one of your key crew members. It affects everyone. It's not a status thing or anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
If everyone's rushed to do their job, they're not going to do their best work.
Yeah.
And so I think that we are looking at a generation above us that is very militant, treats movies like going to war, that like you have to bleed for your craft and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that you do have to take risk when you're making movies,
Yeah.
but you don't have to risk your life. You know what I mean? You can
exactly.
you can do sensitive things emotionally that you're working through, you know? You can do really provocative emotional work without, you know, killing someone. And, and that's you know, it's really sad.
We like to not go there.
And you don't want to, you know, like there's a lot of...
It shouldn't be a concern on set that something like that could happen.
Yeah, and look, you know, waking up and driving in your car is a risk, but certainly that is not, you know, you can't just go, well, life's a risk, so then therefore we risk it, you know?
You freaking just stay in your closet if you like that. Like everything is a risk, kind of a little bit.
Well, that's the thing though, but you have to walk a line there, because at one, you know, making a movie is something that I think is a very, you know, indulgent thing.
For sure.
You know, when you save up a lot of money and you blow it on a movie, and that movie's not, you know, that movie's not feeding people.
Yeah.
You know, that movie's, it's a silly thing to do.
Yeah.
And so you are risking, you are doing something that inherently is kind of wacky. But there's also, you know, the feeling that I have when I watch movies and other people watch movies and they go, oh my God, that made me think, or oh my God, that challenge, or that made me think about my relationship with my family or whatever. And so we know that there's value in what we do, but we can't also pretend that, like, you know, we just can't get too into our heads thinking that what we're doing is so important that we have to, like, you know, risk the well-being of the people involved. And that if you do take risk, which are calculated and controlled in an environment where people, you know, you very much need to look around your set and go, is everyone
on board?
Or do we all know what's happening?
Exactly.
And that if the last hour someone goes, no, I'm not okay with this, this feels weird, you can't go, well, you signed a paper, or you said yesterday it was cool, or whatever. You gotta be very present when you're making a movie. And you always have to be looking out. Because I do think that there's also this thing where it's like, you know, if you pay a certain person a certain amount, or you work within a certain amount of hours, it kind of makes you think, oh, well, I'm paying them and I'm keeping him here for 12, so I could just fuck them while they're here. You know, like it can kind of excuse a lot
just
of
taking advantage of that.
Yeah, because you checked
thing.
a couple boxes in your head. And you went, well, I did this and I did this, and they're friends or whatever.
You kind of
or
like
it's
justify it. Some people kind of justify it for themselves to do those decisions.
Yeah, and certainly the director, whoever they are, is going to be very passionate about the project, and they're going to want to go a lot harder and a lot farther than everyone else.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember that, like, it sucks, but you chose a collaborative art form.
Definitely.
And so you have to be collaborative in what, you can't just go, well, I want to do this.
Definitely.
And if you do, go do it alone.
Go
risk that alone. If you need to get a shot.
Simple solution
up in a thing and you know what I mean? Like you go take on that risk, but certainly don't ask other people if they don't feel comfortable. And and I think that's another thing about why at this stage I work with my friends, because I also know that sometimes, I think that this is a time where we're learning that consent, and I mean in filmmaking and asking someone to do something with a camera or to do something is not just as easy as yes or no. I mean, there's a lot of pressure in a moment on set, and if you go, let's strap this camera to the car and you're going to operate from out the window or whatever, you may ask them, are you comfortable with that? And they may say yes, but if they're your friend, they're going to be more relaxed to go, no, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that pressure of that environment of saying, we're coming up on the time, we got to get this shot, like put yourself out the window. There's so much pressure on crew to just go with it, and to get hired back and to get, I'm kind of going on and on, but I do want to take an opportunity to talk about those things because I think that as long as we're talking about filmmaking and younger filmmakers, that's something that we really have to take seriously.
No, definitely. You have, like I said, you have a responsibility to take. It's not just about you. It's not your own bubble. Like, you have a responsibility when you're on set as a director or just even a first AD. Like, you have a responsibility to take care of these other human beings. Like, especially with the actors, is like they're not focused on what the PA is doing and if they're fucking up. They're like the actors are paying attention to their craft and what they have to make this film better. So it's like you have that responsibility, and with that mentality of like just working with friends, that's for me, for myself. That's anything I do. Like with building this crew here, as you see, like we're all friends. I've known most of these people over 5 years. So it's like I'd rather have, and even with the guests, like I just even though we just met, Milad suggested you, and I was like, okay, I trust him. Let's bring you on, and I was just seeing how talented. But I'm going on too. But with
that's all right.
But with that mentality is like I can for sure ask a person with a better better experience and longer experience as a technical director. I can ask him, but I don't really know him. But rather have someone I'm comfortable with as well. And then same with guests. Like I could ask someone that has millions of followers, but I'm just not comfortable or like what they're doing, and like I know it's gonna be fake or all that. Like
it's like Anthony said, like it comes out in the project.
Exactly.
If you have like that positive
and I
definitely
and I just think people need to understand that like you don't need to risk it all just for this one person or just to have, like you said with the Reds, like just take your time, take it slow. And I think that's what we were talking about this behind the scenes a lot, but like I feel like with social media happening, people like even our younger generation is like people are trying to rush to be famous. People are trying to rush the process. And like, there's slow down. Like
there's a Earl Sweatshirt.
Of course,
you're a fan.
Of course,
he has some great stuff to say about this. About taking his time. And I won't try to. I mean, go listen to what he has to say. Go read his interviews and watch his interviews. But I totally agree with that. I think that there's a thing where it's like, a lot of people that come, to LA to make movies, to act, it doesn't happen kind of in their 20s. It's starting to not really come all the way through in their 30s. And then they, what am I trying to say here? I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like if you're thinking that this is something you want to do, no matter what your craft is, what you should really love about it is the process of doing it.
Trust the process.
Yeah, you should be really in love with the process. If you're making a movie to have a movie, you know, to finish it, to get it done, then it's just not going to be that great. It's not going to hit, you know. You have to, when you're editing, and you have to be in love with editing your movie.
Yeah.
And when you're writing, you have to be in love with the part where you're writing. And when you're directing, you're in love with the part where you're directing. Certainly not to say that there's definitely parts of the process that didn't come to me as naturally.
For sure, like
know?
you have, you just have to have that mentality of like you just got to push through it. Like,
yeah, exactly. And if you're, you know, if you're just doing it to have the movie at the end and be able to hold it up and go, look, I made a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to have a lot of energy to keep going, you know, because then when that movie happens and no one wants to watch it,
then you become less motivated.
then you go, oh, I was kind of waiting for that, you know,
that pop
validation
off.
or that whatever.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't come, and this is the other thing, I mean, this is something that would be great to talk about, because a lot of people, you know, the process that we have as young filmmakers is that we submit to film festivals. And I think that it's really discouraging when you submit to, like, you know, 50 or 60 festivals and you don't hear back from any of them. It's like, you know, you could really easily go, I suck at this. I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And just, I think it's really great to acknowledge that these processes with film festivals are really completely random.
Yeah.
Like you have, you know, a lot of these festivals are getting 8,000 to 10,000 submissions.
Yeah.
There are 20 to 50 short spots depending on the festival.
Yeah.
And that when your movie is being watched, it's usually being watched by one or maybe two programmers. And your movie has to resonate with that person or those people specifically.
Yeah.
And so your movie could be amazing and get rejected for everything. Rat King that got in a slam dance and we won grand jury.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you go, oh, we're going to make it. We're gods. We're on top of the world.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got that same film got rejected from like small local Phoenix film, you know, like really tiny film festivals.
Yeah.
That we submitted to, you know, just to have a theater experience, are like, no, thank you, you know? So it's like, I mean, it really, really, truly is random.
Yeah.
And that's so much, we hang our hats so much on the festival thing and all of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that can be discouraging as well. So you really have to make your craft separate from the validation.
Definitely.
You know, that it's like, I'm just so in love with doing it that, like, if you never gave me an award, if you never, you know, I just want to keep doing it, you know, and I'll get some other day job to pay the bills. And I'll just keep making shorts the rest of my life.
Yeah. I think rejection is huge.
I think,
not only this industry, but like just arts.
I was going to say, like, with acting, we've both been acting for a long time and even doing dance. You have, like, any industry, you have to be okay with the rejection and just push, like, you have to be okay with it. Yeah. So it's like,
I listened to, this is going to be a weird thing to bring up, but Tom Hanks, I was listening to him talk, and he was talking about this ideal that I've used a lot for acting now, and it's the phrase that this too shall pass.
Yeah. Oh God.
Okay, great. Yeah. So it's basically like if you're feeling like shit, like you're having all this rejection, just remember this too shall pass. But if you feel like you're gods winning the grand jury at the film festival, this too shall pass.
Everything. Everything.
So that's great.
I love that. I mess with that so much. That's so cool.
Is that the interview, the round table?
Exactly.
Right? With all the actors? Yo, those interviews are like priceless.
Yeah.
Those interviews are really like, it's another good interview to look at.
It's very true. And I think there's a lot of highs and lows in this thing. There's a lot of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing next. I feel so unmotivated. I mean, literally at the top of COVID, I mean, me and my two producing partners, and I mean, I can extend this, a lot of my friends and everyone, the whole world. I mean, you know, everyone feels like they're in a really, really tough spot. Some are more fortunate than others, but you know, it just feels like, the whole world's ending, you know? Yeah. And then something happens, you know, like you finally go to an event and you have a great time or whatever. And then you're on cloud nine, you're back and you're high again, you know? And then it is kind of nice to stop trying to affiliate yourself so much with that momentary feeling, you know, and not going like, I think
This
too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
You can't really beat that.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
We did want to get your opinion on something that we slightly disagreed on. And set life during COVID is what it's about. Did you hear or see the Tom Cruise thing that happened on set?
Yeah.
A while back.
Yeah.
About the
Okay.
whole
So
COVID.
what are your thoughts on how that went down? Like, what do you think he shouldn't have done or should have done?
Okay, so
differently?
before so what I was, it's not that we
get into it.
It's not that we disagreed.
Slightly. Yeah.
I agree that because you have to think, Tom Cruise, it's his production. He's putting money into it. He's the actor, and he's creating these jobs. And if someone's fucking up, someone has to be called on it. Like,
we should explain for people who haven't seen it. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it,
essentially Tom Cruise catches 2 people on set, not abiding by the COVID guidelines, like distance or wearing mask, and then he goes on a rant screaming at everybody on the set for like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's basically all that happened.
So basically, I was just saying, I always had the idea, or someone told me when I do a lot of music videos behind the scenes for like artists, and the first AD who I work with a lot, he's much older and more experienced, but he always says like, let me be the asshole on set, and then after we film, I'm not an asshole. Like, I feel for me, someone kind of always has to be the hard ass a little bit if something is going wrong. Not necessarily I agree with how he said it or somewhat how he went about it, but I agree that something needed to be said if someone's fucking up and not going through these guidelines and might cause this production to fail and everyone loses their job. So from that was my opinion.
So my thing is that I think that his message is correct.
Exactly.
In that a lot of jobs are on the line for everyone on that set. If one thing goes wrong, all of them have to go home. They're out of work. I don't think he needed to stand there and scream at everybody on the set. He could have done it a different way. I don't know exactly what that is because I'm not in that situation. But maybe just gone up to the 2 people and had a quick talk with them and just be like, hey, man, you're jeopardizing this set. Yeah. And then, like, maybe, I don't know. But
with that, if he just, for me, like, I know a lot of people who are just on set, like PAs who are just kind of on set, just being on set. Like, big productions just want to be on set, not really paying attention. So I feel like even if Tom Cruise or someone went to go talk to these 2, they wouldn't really listen, in my opinion. Like, they wouldn't, like, they would just be, like, nonchalant about it, in my opinion. I know a lot of people on set. Like, not a lot of people on set.
You're saying that it would take the yelling to get them to listen?
A little bit. Not, like, so harsh, but I think something out loud to everybody needed to be said. Not that level, but, like, maybe, like, 35% lower.
Sure, okay. Yeah.
But that's okay.
Let's get your take.
It's
no, now because he's a family man, so now he's all nice and like he loves.
No,
I
trust him to give us his honest.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the thing about that situation is that there's so many things beyond just him yelling in that moment, because there's also, I mean, there was a pandemic. I think that it was really good that we stopped production for a little bit. We didn't know what was going on.
For sure.
We want to be safe. There is certainly the pressure of all those people having their jobs. But there's also the question of if we all needed to not be on set to be safe, then, you know, the government compensation for that. You know, what can we pay to keep them at home? Like, what, you know, because when we don't do that, then there's the pressure where I have to go work and put my life on the line and risk myself. So there's weird stuff in that, just the lead up to it. But maybe if you isolate it to just him on set. No, because I don't like that he did that. And when I heard that, and a lot of people in my a younger generation of filmmakers that I follow and I know were kind of praising it. Not everyone, but there was some little bit of praise. Like,
I saw that too.
You need to be, you know, like we need to be safe on set and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like the bigger picture or the thing that wasn't being acknowledged was Tom Cruise is a millionaire. I mean, this guy is... owns his you know what I mean?
Owns his own production and everything.
Prince. He's royalty.
Yeah.
And so Tom Cruise wants to make his Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
And look, I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, you know?
Yeah.
I've never met him, you know? I'm sure, I don't know
Soon
that
to
we
be,
would,
a
I don't
soon
know.
to be, maybe.
Maybe. You know, a boy can dream.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I'm sure that he's a lot in person, and maybe in a fun way, and maybe in a scary way. But, I mean, he wants to go make a movie. And like
Yeah.
I said earlier, you know, movies are... They can be very powerful, and they can be very effective, and they could really do a lot, good and bad.
Yeah.
But it's a movie, you know? And so he's making this production happen. He's pushing this project through. He's inviting all these people to take risk.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he catches two people who aren't doing it, and yeah, I wish they would have, you know, for the safety of others, I wish they would have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that he would take that opportunity to braid them and then do it in front of the whole crew, and that people would hear that and praise it. Because I even hear your perspective is like, okay, maybe he needs to be harsh, but even you feel like you got to bring it down a little bit. And I don't know. There's a lot to balance there in terms of safety with COVID and treating your crew well. But no, I don't think that was the right call. And I really think that there was a way to do both. Like there's a way to try to get the importance of being safe,
The
and
attention of
there's a way to do that. And I personally think that it is more effective if he came to them with love. And that sounds really fucking sappy.
No, this is kind of what I was telling him.
I really believe that though in my heart, that if he would have came to them and really and I mean also the impact of Tom Cruise.
That's
telling
true.
this to you.
I put that in my
That's what I was telling you. That's what I was telling you.
I was like, yo, it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Tom Cruise comes up to you.
I'm gonna freak out no matter what he says.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you're risking everything, but we
True.
really need to keep it safe. And if someone catches you with your mask off,
True.
not only can you get someone sick, but you could also shut the production down.
Yeah.
We all go there.
Yeah.
If he did that and he did it privately and pulled them aside and was like, "Hey guys, thanks so much." And Pat, I mean, I really believe that would have been effective. And
I think so too.
And if there was a part of them that ignored that, then maybe they're just a person who's going to ignore anything, you know? But then that creates a weird resentment on set, you know, on the project. And suddenly everyone's, you know, like doesn't want to get yelled. Yeah. And suddenly everyone's a little uncomfortable. And we have to remember the reason they're all there, certainly to have a job, right?
Yeah.
But they're also there to make Tom Cruise wants to make a movie.
Yeah.
And so it is a little indulgent to, you know, but that's kind of I really do think that there was another way to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
I agree. That was another thing we talked about too, is like the same thing you said. Like now everyone on set is really uncomfortable. They like kind of don't want to be there maybe in that moment anymore. And then that comes out in the product. Yeah.
And this is a thing that I think is very common on sets, and especially in the AD role, assistant director, for those who don't know it. And this person is kind of the
kind of the showrunner, kind of like takes care of everybody.
The set babysitter, not in a derogatory way, like in a complete, like it is a very hard job. You're balancing a lot of things. You have a lot of personalities, a lot of emotions, a lot of logistics you're figuring out. It's a real coordinating role. And I do feel like there is a common mentality, though, that the AD needs to be a hard ass and needs to be like a little bit, you know, cutthroat and everything. Yeah. And that's also something that I really doubt. You know, I really doubt. I think that comes out of the militant thing. And this is something that started way back in film. You know, like we have to realize that a lot of the atmosphere of sets these days are coming from
the old school,
prominently white men making these movies that are coming literally sometimes, like war and film, like, you know, World War II and World War I are photographed by some of the greatest directors of the generation. So their relationship between, you know, war, industry, all these things are wrapped up in what makes what makes the atmosphere of what sets are. Yeah. And we're trying to work our way out of that. We're trying to drop some of that stuff. And so the AD being like a general that's going to be really tough on the crew. Definitely. I think it's more that they are Brian White, I'll shout him out again.
Hey, Brian White, whoever you are.
One of the three him and two of us were the collective. He's just one of the greatest producer, filmmaker. I really think that he's like kind of the best at what he does.
Oh yeah.
And when he ADs, he is so on it, and he's so he's got a very meticulous mind. He really can keep track of a lot of details. And when he's talking to everyone on set, he is like, sneaking in little jokes and little like
everyone's best friend.
Yeah, and he has a saying that he goes on set and he goes, "Great time to be alive and making movies."
Hey,
and that's how he starts. And that's his energy.
Yeah,
and he's the one running back and forth between departments, trying to get everyone to meet, for a shot.
Yeah.
And if that's come on, you told me 5 or whatever. And then sometimes ADs, they don't, great ADs know all the departments and know how they function internally, not just like what they do for the film, but how the mechanics of them work. Good directors know this. Like if you want to, any department should have an understanding of how all the departments function. But he knows, because he's worked in lower level crew, that sometimes you go ask camera, "Hey, how much time do you need?" And they go 10 minutes or whatever. And you come back and they go, "Sorry, 15 because of this, this, and this." Some ADs will just go like, "Well, you told," they won't hear the reason why or anything. They'll just be like, "But you told me this."
Yeah.
And that's another thing of being really present on set and realizing that things are constantly changing.
Moving. Yeah,
to try to be a good, if you're a host, you're a director, you want to be a good, or you want to be a good host.
Yeah.
You want to be you want to take care of everyone. And so that general mentality over that host mentality is a very important thing, I think.
Perfect.
Cool. And also when someone pushes you or they, you're going to embrace being pushed more when it's someone that you love and have a kinship with.
You're more comfortable to like challenge yourself.
Yeah. Because it's good intention rather than a stranger or and that's not to say, a lot of times you walk on set and you're working with people you've never met before, but just to try to, not just show that side. And nothing I'll say that I haven't said already.
But yeah, that's what I think is why that's why I think like good set life is very important, because of that reason. If like as an actor, if you feel like this person, if you are rubbed the wrong way by anybody, or like you feel like intimidated on set,
definitely
you won't try certain things. Like your performance will be
you won't even do your 100%.
Yeah, so even in
whatever.
Even in that case where like you're coming on set with new people, creating that environment is why I think it's so important. That's why like I get turned off of sets of like the Tom Cruise thing. Like I obviously I know Tom Cruise doesn't care about like. I don't think some of those people on set will want to work with him again. And of course he doesn't care about that because he's Tom Cruise and has all that money.
Yeah, that's the thing is he can do that.
He can
exactly,
do that, Maybe that's why he felt like he was going to do that, because he's like, he doesn't care about the end result.
Point where
he doesn't care about the outcome of it.
I think he's just got his eye on the movie, I
exactly.
think he's got his eye on the prize, and
For
he
sure.
wants his movie at the end of the day. And
For sure.
And I think you have to be very careful about that, because you can't. That's kind of touches on something I was talking about earlier, where it's like, if you pay someone enough, you could treat them like shit. And it's like, why is that? It should not be a thing.
Yeah.
It should be a thing that no matter what you're paying, if it's free and it's your friend that comes on, or if you're paying someone like, top dollar on a movie with Tom Cruise, the human respect thing is just so separate from all of that. It just should be true regardless of a situation. So I don't, there is a lot of stakes, but when shit gets hot and there's a lot of stakes, that's usually when people allow themselves to become a monster in a way. And it's like, that should be when you're the most, conscious of like, I'm not going to go there.
That's when you have to like, you have to build everything inside. Like you have to control yourself.
Yeah, you have to take a deep breath. You have to meditate.
That's when you got to meditate. You got to do that.
And man, I've been, and it happens to all of us. I say all this, and there's definitely been times where I've been on set and you work towards something for months and months, and then the scene's not working or a prop breaks or whatever,
Frustrations can come out.
You get frustration.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
And you're going to wrestle with that. And that's why, it's a bigger thing. It's not even a set thing. It's a life practice.
Yeah,
for sure. What would you say your process is when like it gets frustrating, like, or even if like a PA or someone fucks up and then you tell them, like you said, you like to create the love and tell them personally and be let them know. But like, what if if something happens again and you're like, okay, this mother trucker about to get it.
I think it would probably take a lot more life experience to give you a really good answer. But I know that my instinct, though, and I feel like this has happened on a couple of our sets, and it's been a really good thing. Like, when something feels like it's not working, or it doesn't feel right, or we feel like we're going off on a wrong direction, it's just really good to stop and take a breath and talk and like turn off the camera and
so you kind of settle everything down
settle everything down and have a conversation, because usually when you get to a moment like that, the trying to feeling like it's not going right and then looking at the watch and going, oh, if we don't get this shot by this time, then the next shots, it all starts to accumulate.
Domino effect.
And so no one wants to turn the camera off and have a conversation because you just want it. You feel so much pressure to keep moving.
Just want to finish it.
Yeah, but then suddenly, I mean, I've found in my experience that when you do that, you aren't just fucking up that shot because you're not sitting with it, but then you're pressured to, everything compounds and then it's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
So just turning things off, taking a deep breath, talking about what, going to your actors and being like, this doesn't quite feel right. And also just flexibility. Like filmmaking is, when you go in with a very rigid plan and you go, this line is this line because of this line, like, everything you're doing in the writing process, in pre-production, getting the sets together, getting the props together, all of it is to get it all in the space. And then you have to be motivated you have to be motivated by the moment. So if you have an idea that excites you and you write it down and you get there and it no longer excites you, you can't go, well, this was the plan. You know what I mean? You have to adapt in that moment.
Especially on film sets or kind of any set, not everything goes as planned at all.
Yeah.
So you have to just be, as a director or a producer too, you have to adapt to your environment. Yeah, unless you're Quentin Tarantino, because everyone. have you seen that? What was that?
Even
he has good set life. I think.
I don't know too intimately about his set life. I know there's a lot of fun rituals and routines, and some that are a little
harsh,
silly.
It was an interview,
but
it was an interview I saw. It was either who was it? I forgot, but they were talking. It was an actor. What actor he uses all the time. Eli Roth. Was it Eli Roth?
Eli Roth?
I don't know who it was, but they were saying
they work together a lot.
But they were saying that they were saying how they tried to say this line in a different way, or they said they used dialogue that it was different on the paper, and then Tarantino was like, called him into a room. He's like, why are you doing that? He's like, I want everything on paper. He's like,
in that way.
But they said, huh? Jamie Foxx.
Right, yeah.
It was Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx did like
Django?
Django. He did a certain type of accent.
Yeah.
Like on Jamie Foxx that he thought he was gonna go with, and then he did that accent, and then Tarantino said, "Let's stop," and then took Jamie Foxx. He's like, "Why are you doing that accent, man?" He's like, "That's not what I wanted."
Interesting.
But the thing is, even though he was kind of harsh saying it to Jamie said he loved that. Like I feel like
goes back to the Tom Cruise thing. That's like the perfect reaction.
Yeah.
Like you just speak to that person.
But Jamie was saying like it wasn't kind of like speaking it, like it was Tarantino kind of level where it was like, yo, why are you saying that?
He wasn't being talked down to.
Yeah, he wasn't being talked down to, but also kind of being stern about it.
Yeah.
So, but Jamie, I know there are some actors that like that like sternness. So it's like, that's like, I feel like obviously that comes with experience with Tarantino, but like people are like stuff to be like on script and way to go, but I like, it's always so interesting to hear like especially Tarantino's set life. But I mean there's also different, there's different type of filmmakers, and he's a guy that, his movies are very cinematic in the way that they're lit and everything, and they're, I mean, there's some of the best. I mean, he really knows what he's doing. And it means different kinds of performances. It means different kinds of sets. It means different kinds of lighting. And he's got a vision. He's going after it. And it's very different than the way that I work in that I definitely, it's not so much about the exact line but like a feeling I'm cultivating. So I don't quite know how it's going to come out on set. Exactly.
But it is interesting. There are definitely people that are a lot more, I don't even want to say that he's rigid. I mean, his vision is very precise.
He's very precise.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good way to put it. Like, he's very precise on what he wants, and he knows what he wants. So if he doesn't like something, he'll for sure.
It works.
Yeah.
Those movies
It works. I don't know how
undeniably,
I don't know
powerful
how
films.
that man does it, but for sure there's obviously different methods, like how you said you work differently,
Sure.
but it's the way it works for you, and like obviously you created beautiful pieces, so it's just different. So
Yeah, to each their own. I mean, you should definitely try to figure out your voice, you know? And looking up to other filmmakers certainly helps. I mean, it's really nice to look at certain movies and go, you know, to have a couple movies in the back of your head that you wish you made. That you're like, God, I mean, that is a movie that I wish I did. There's definitely a couple of those, but also not to get too heady or conscious about it, you know?
yeah,
Like when you watch those things and they impact you, they're in you. You know, they're in there. And so you don't have to necessarily, I think, worry too much about trying to emulate them.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to emulate them just by
just
like, this is an acting thing. I'm sure is like, you know, you like something I've heard, and I know every actor works slightly different, but it's like when you're getting ready for a role or whatever, you do the thing where you're like, you know, what did they have for breakfast, or how are they feeling? The breakfast thing, is cliche, but
yeah,
it's you want to learn, you want to be very heady about what are they doing, what's their life like, how do they act, but by the time you get to do the thing, you're not at it's maybe more of a question than anything, but my assumption is you're not in your head going, you know, saying the line and thinking about what you had for breakfast.
Right.
You're lost in the moment.
Yeah.
But all that research that you did is like,
Informs
it's in your
who you are.
It's in your bones now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's the same for any art form, you know?
Definitely.
Where you put stuff in, you take in other influences, but by the time you go to do the work, it's just
Kind of like autopilot.
Yeah,
It's a little bit.
And then you're feeling your way through it.
Exactly,
And you have to
exactly.
really trust that core feeling and kind of let that guide you, instead of being like, you know, not to say that you can be on set and go like, you know, what's the best framing, and kind of think and go, I'm going to copy that. I mean, look, it happens.
Yeah,
you know?
It happens.
There's a funny thing actually happened to me when I was younger. What you were saying about like looking up to films and emulating them. I did that when I was younger, but with actors, and but not in a good way though. Like when I was like maybe 14, I was in an acting class and I did a scene. And then after I did the scene, my acting teacher was like, that was really different from how I normally do things. And he was like, but not in a good way either. Like, so he was like, what did you do like to prepare for this? And I literally told him, I was like, in my head, I tried to imagine what Brad Pitt would sound like saying these lines.
So
and then that's how I tried to do it.
So you try to talk like Brad Pitt and everything?
Here's my Denzel Washington version of the scene.
Yeah, so when I was young, I was like, okay, maybe being a good actor is just like copying good actors.
Influences.
Exactly.
And then that's what I learned, or when he like kind of imparted on me that whole thing of like, think as the character as preparation. Do the breakfast thing. Do the like, talk to yourself. Think out loud as that person.
Yeah.
And then when you're on set, all of those things culminate into you being that person.
Yeah, it's deep in you. And so when you're acting, you're not acting from a place of mimicking or
copying,
emulating, or because a copy is just never going to be as powerful as an original.
It doesn't.
You know?
You can tell, because then it doesn't feel genuine.
Yeah. And that's so many different. I mean, I think about that a lot when I write. You know, like when I'm writing, it feels like really, really good writing feels like cheating a little bit, in that, you know, it's if you feel like you're writing, if it's like I'm making up what all these people are saying, it just feels really, really bad. And this is something that like Paul Thomas Anderson has a lot of good thoughts on writing and how to write. I'm probably, a lot of the things I'm gonna say are just gonna be ripped from him, so go watch those interviews. But it's really a process of trying to feel like the characters start to talk and the characters start to speak, and that suddenly you're not trying to come up with a line, but you're listening, and then you hear that, you know, you can kind of, you know, he like describes it as like a seance a little bit. And I like that, you know, that's also romantic and spooky and really cool. And so trying to not copy or saying, you know, and certainly there's things that help you, you know, like, you know, by page 15, you want a thing to happen, or by page 30, but you know, I don't know, movies could be so much more than that. I mean, you also find that as you're writing, even if you're not thinking about hitting certain points, you know, like your inciting incident or your first act, whatever, you know, you're not thinking about those things, but you have those rules in you because you've watched a million movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you just watch a million movies, then you don't have to necessarily be so conscious about hitting something on page 15 because most movies have this kind of formula. And so you're trying not to work from like a very conscious place of like making sure I hit certain things or I kind of want the movie to feel like this. Just put those things in you and then forget about them when you go to do it. You know what I mean? And let it be more of a natural.
Let it just come to you.
Yeah, but that's what works for me.
I think
it's whatever floats your boat. You know?
I think that works a lot with a lot of people in a lot of industries. Like I'm with that. I'm just thinking how can I implement that or be an example of like even with dance. With the dance world, is like there's so many choreographers that I have that influence me, and I use their movement or how they move or how they listen to music. I try to implement that too. So I think it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah,
I think it's just a good way to help your craft. Obviously, influences help your craft no matter what. So
yeah, I think an art form is like, you know, when someone tries to make something, they're going to make a piece of art or something. It's, you know, they have all this experience and all these emotions, and it's like you're the filter, the conduit, or the catalyst for this thing on the back end, which is the product, whether it be a dance routine, a performance you give, a film you make, whatever it is, a painting you do. And I think that you really have to like clear the cobwebs of doubt and, you know, mimicry. And you know, doing it for the war, you know, you have to look at yourself, you have to wrestle with those things, and you have to try to clear it all away, and try to have, you know, the thing just come through you as naturally as possible. And so it really means like following your voice, not what other people want, because when you follow your emotions, if the film is resonating with you, then it must resonate with other people. You know what I mean? You just trust that process rather than catering to them. And not to say that I don't like, you know, big blockbuster popcorn movies. They're a lot of fun, but, you know, I think the really special stuff that's going to really stand the test of time is very unique to the individual making it. And it's their voice, and no one else could do what they're doing. Yeah. And so I try to do that. I try to really be honest to, either my experiences or my feelings when I'm writing, things that feel right. And it's hard because, you know, you get feedback from people and you have a lot of self-doubt as a, you know, I'm very new at this, you know, relatively compared to people who are great in doing this and masters of their craft. Sure. And so when you get a note, you know, one note can tank you and just go like, oh, I suck. Yeah. And so trying to cultivate a voice inside of yourself that is a confidence, but not a false confidence, but just one that's like, you know, okay, you didn't like that line or you don't like the way that works, but like I know that there's something about my experience that says that this is true and this is real. And you definitely want to check it. You want to listen to people when they say stuff. For sure. But if a note can tank you, you know, then you need to work on yourself and try to, you know, strengthen that part of you that's like believes in what you're doing and what you're making. Dude, like
100% motivational speaker over here. This guy is on something today. Well, dude, thanks. I think
that was a good last word from Anthony.
Dude.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Dude, it's an honor and a privilege to be here talking to you guys.
We'll link Tender to this so you can check that out as well.
Cool. His short films. All his Instagram, everything. Yeah. Just watch out for this guy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff coming up.
Dude, he's freaking even 29 and just still sky's the limit. It's crazy. We're all still so young, so.
Yes, we are so young. We really are. We are not 30's not old. 30's very young. 35, 40. I mean, come on. Dude, there's nothing worse than a 20-year-old talking about how old they feel.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I don't feel old. I'm
good.
You know, I'm young and wild, but still 29, you got to.
Yeah, you could do it at any time, you know.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. It could suddenly click at 40, you know. You just got to hang in there and you got to enjoy the process.
Exactly. But yo, thanks for tuning in. For watching on YouTube, Spotify, thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Catch you next time.
Cool. Just do the damn thing. Session is out. Later. Dude.